All the second stage tanks now pressurized. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
What if I don't want to break a leg? Hello, welcome to HBR Talk 403, the Incel Trip. The screed goes ever, ever on. And now I've got that song stuck in your head if you're a Gen Xer, because I did it badly, and you have to correct it. I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with Nonsense Annihilator, Lauren Brooks, the personification of perceptivity. I keep running over people. Sorry, Lauren. Say that again.
Okay. I said, hey-yo.
Hey-yo. The personification of perceptivity, Mike Stevenson.
Yeah,
Richard.
See, I'm the one who's trying to insert this hello thing.
I know. You
into
started
the opening
it.
of the show, because I think audiences like it when, you know, and it works as a fucking sound check, so that everyone knows everyone can fucking hear each other. So yes, hello. I'm the fucking personification of I hate it when people say nice things about me, and I cringe every time. But fine, it's fine.
Hey, at least it's easier to say than the label I gave Adam Paladin. She is the professor of perspicacity. And all y'all are gonna have to look that up because I'm not gonna tell you. We have Richard the Lionhearted.
You sound like you've pigeonholed me with her there, and I'm fine with that. Aiden's great, actually. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say both. Hello, Richard, and both of y'all are very, not academic in terms of like look everything up and that kind of thing, but everything that you everything that you approach with a very academic study level of figuring it out.
It's extraordinarily generous to me. Thank you. That's all I'll say.
Well, you are welcome. But in the meantime, while we are discussing our group, we also have the Doge in charge, Brian Martinez, working in the background to make everything happen. And that's our show. That's the beginning. So we're still looking at the Incel Trap article. And I will probably continue unless something odd in particular comes up. But we will not be continuing with it next week because next week we are gonna like lose part of our group. So with everything that's going on with me, like I'm on massive overtime and my schedule is going back and forth between days and nights. I'm not going to try to coordinate around that. So call me lazy. Sorry, but we're not doing a show next week. So I'll try to make it up to everybody later on in some way or another. But as for next week, there's just not going to be an HBR talk. But this week there is. Sorry, we're going to torture you with this article some more. Before we get into it, obviously we got to do what we got to do. As always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions. And as experiences both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us, relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work is treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. In light of this, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platforms tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justatip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the thought police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. And definitely do, because even X, even if it's considered to be a right-wing platform now, I just got told earlier this week that I was only safe saying the things I'm saying because I'm on a right-wing platform. They didn't see all of the things I say, apparently. But even that isn't good protection. We still get, I still periodically get shadow banned. Shadow banning happens if a lot of people mute you. So when I say something particularly offensive about feminists, I usually get shadow banned for a week after that. So especially if a lot of people see it.
Not to mention misgendered dozens of times.
Oh my God. Yes. I should just change my name to Miss Gender. But then they will assume I'm trans, and although they do that anyway, so yeah, Mr. 303 has a great point on Rumble. Even if X was a right-wing platform, those on the right are just as gynocentric, and I've seen that. I had a hell of a heated argument with a right-wing feminist about this time last year, I want to say. I said something and somebody got mad at me, and there was a long thread, and there was all kinds of arguing taking place, which is pretty much every time I get on Twitter anyway, on X anyway. But then somebody said something that I responded to by retweeting it with the comment. It was something about a percentage of, I think it was 100% of abortions were caused by men or some dumb shit like that. And I responded with 100% of women who say shit like this do nothing but prove that Islam was right about women. And that set her off. Not the woman I was talking to either, just some other rando that I had never met before. And I did an after show on that thread because it was so funny. The hysterics that she went into over that. But if you want to see something like that, then you have to go to feedthebadger.com and have to sign up to be able to participate in the after shows for HBR Talk. Because that kind of content, I don't usually go over those kind of conversations on the public show unless there's something for me to convey to the public as a lesson. Learn from what happened here about, some men's issue and what you can do. I might share other people's Twitter conversations, but I don't usually share my own. But you might see a few of them on the after show now and then if I get a good hysterical feminist or a shitload of angry commenters. But in the meantime, like I said, feedthebadger.com. Check it out. See if you want to become part of our after shows and get into those discussions about those threads and anything else that I happen to find interesting on the internet that has to do with men's issues or women's behavior, which is always a men's issue. And speaking of men's issues, we are back to the Incel Trip, about the Incel Trap. And the last thing that we read, I believe, was this top paragraph here, Costello talking about men needing to be able to speak freely and how hard it is to get men to go to therapy if they go in and they talk about what they're experiencing and all they get back is toxic masculinity and male privilege, which he's right about that. That is. But that's easy to pick up from the fact that men's rights activists have been talking about that for years. So it is good when people hello. Hello.
I did an interview on Rumble on Wednesday.
You did?
Yeah. I was on the Chronic show, and he interviewed me.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. What did you guys talk about?
About me growing up and me being an incel, and about me being disabled as well.
Is that something that you can put a link to in our chat, and then we can put it in the low bar of the show?
Give me a minute.
Awesome. That way people can get to see it.
Oh, and William Costello is a feminist.
Yeah. I can kind of tell. He seems to be one of the more tolerable male feminists. I haven't had him say anything directly to me that usually, like, when I end up talking to a male feminist, I get bad vibes one way or another. Either the guy is he's a male feminist because he feels bullied by other men, one way or another, whether he has been or not. And some of them have been, some of them haven't. Or because feminism creates a set of rules that he can use to control other people, both sexes.
His girlfriend is a feminist as well. So
that's another one. A lot of guys end up being feminists because of their girlfriends or their wives. And a lot of young men end up being feminists at the start of their adulthood because of their mothers, right? Their mothers raise them to be that way, or their sisters talk them into it. And then after a few years of living as adult men under the standards that adult men face, and watching women who are old enough to be adults, who don't have to act like adults, living under the standards, or lack of standards rather, that women who are adult age have instead, they start to come around and they stop calling themselves feminists, and then they start calling themselves anti-feminists, and then they start calling themselves men's rights activists. I'd say probably about a third to half of the men's rights activist movement probably have had some part in that experience, where they've had enough exposure to feminist propaganda growing up that they believed it, and whether they called themselves feminists or not, they had to peel all those layers of propaganda off after adulthood. I don't know that most people recognize that when they're like high school age, junior high. There's a lot of boys now that are figuring it out because it's been inundated, in their schools. They've been flooded with it. And it's bearing down on them like a hat that's too heavy, honestly. So of course they're noticing it. Oh, go ahead, Richard.
Interviews in the chat. Is in the chat now.
Oh, awesome! Thanks. And I will have to. I'll have to edit that in after the show because I'm paying attention to 5 different windows now. So, but I will do that. I do not have to go to work after the show because I have to go to work in the morning. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. To your point, this is sort of the mediating factor that happens in teenage years. Because there's something about the teenage years that always rebels against whatever is going on around them at the time, and this force, this effect, has sort of been hijacked over the last century or so. You'll have seen it through all the hippie bullshit and the stuff that happened after that, and all the communist bullshit that happened before that, and is still happening now. That's because young people like to rebel. They have this instinct to rebel. And so in the 20th century, they rebelled against stuff that had been working just fine for centuries. And they're still doing it. And they don't They don't know when they've gone too far. I have to some degree lost my train of thought.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm probably making noise. I'm
No,
like sitting here playing with my
It's
glasses.
I promise you, it's the things going on in my circulatory process.
Well, what I can say about feminism is this. All right. Women have spent over 200 years pretending to rebel against the establishment that is using them and their pretend rebellion to get more micromanagement power over the public. And the reason that I say that I say feminism isn't really a rebellious movement, is this. Our civilization for about 6, maybe 700 years has been fairly gynocentric, right? And a large portion of it, of course, is the concept of romantic chivalry that was created by French aristocrats several centuries ago. But that's not the only. There's always been storge, that family love, where the family supports each other, and there's sort of a hierarchy of, we're going to protect the children, but each level of strength protects the level that's weaker. And so men might do the physical protecting, where historically a woman would protect her husband's reputation. And the balance became more and more toward men being the only ones expected to do any protecting. And, women used to protect the resource of her husband's defense. I like to give the silly example of the obey vow being part of that in your wedding vows, where my husband doesn't really order me around a lot. So when he does, I really pay attention. And one night, we were outside on our front patio, and he looked over at me and said, "Get inside. Get in the apartment." So I did. I went inside. And then I turn around and look to find out there was a skunk. And, it seems like a silly thing, but I'm allergic to animal musk. So it wasn't just, I'm protecting you from this stinky little creature. It was, this thing might give Hannah an asthma attack and kill her. So he really was defending my life in the moment. But it does seem like a little thing until you realize that. This is something that women today, for the most part, don't get. That, a guy saying, "Get inside, get in the apartment," he's not being an asshole. There's something going on that he's concerned about, and he's trying to protect you, right? Over the years, women have stopped doing their part to not put more work on the protector. If I'd have stayed out there, then he'd have had to get in between me and the animal. He'd have been fighting with me. He might have gotten bit by the animal. We didn't know if it had rabies. Skunks are kind of notorious for carrying that too. So, it could have been a lot worse. As it was, because I got in the house and he was able to scare it away without getting sprayed, everything was all good. Well, similarly, women used to know better than to say nasty things about their husband, publicly shame them on the internet. A discussion about that trended on social media just recently because of some bitch's TikTok video. Women used to know better than to start conflicts where other men might be involved when their husband was around, because guess who he was going to have to protect them from then, right? You might be getting him into a fight. So women used to be protectors too, right? Not just to the kids, but he protected her physical side, she protected his social side. And today, women don't do jack shit to protect their husbands. Right? They won't do anything. Not only will they not do anything, they will actively, publicly damage their husbands. They don't submit. They don't obey. They passive aggressively push him to fail and then treat him like it's all his fault when you're supposed to be the supporting partner. They're supposed to be the helpmate in the marriage, right? So all of the history of feminism, we've had this history during a time when our civilization was gynocentric. Women first, ladies first, right? You take care of the women and then the men get what's left over. And that's always been throughout the entire history of feminism, communism, all of the stupid little isms that are victim ideologies that in any way, shape, or form prey on gynocentrism. That has existed. And throughout that time, anytime women said, we want XYZ, give us that. It may have taken some push and pull. It may have taken some discussion. It may have taken some protest so that the men knew that actually, yes, all of the women or most of the women want this, or at least the loudest of the women want this. Well, they got it. Sometimes they went to court to get it. Sometimes they went to legislators to get it. Sometimes they went to banks to get it, right? Sometimes they went to the media and the public would then shame the government into giving it to them. But always they got it. Women want something, they got it. They even got alcohol outlawed in the United States for quite some time, long enough to start a whole brand new area of crime in the United States.
Didn't they help not create them more, but give them more power as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alcohol running was one of the reasons that the mob actually got a real foothold as a powerful organization in the United States.
And so the whole world went, why don't we do this with every drug? Let's see what happens.
Because they're so stupid.
It helped the Kennedys get rich as well. Mm-hmm. Allegedly.
Yes, but don't start singing I Want to Be a Kennedy, because I'm not a fan of that band. Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
But in any case, it's hard to call yourself a rebel when you're literally using the escalator that was put there by the builder of the culture that you're rebelling against. Everybody else has to take the stairs, but not women. Right? Children, men, animals, take the stairs. Women, feminists, on that escalator. And it propels you forward. And the whole time you can pretend to be climbing. In fact, you can pretend to be climbing down and you'll still get to the top as long as you don't go too fast. And yeah, the 18th, or not 18th Amendment. I actually think it was the 18th Amendment. It was overturned.
It was the 18th Amendment.
It was repealed. It was the 18th Amendment. I just had to sit there and think about it for a minute, but it was. It used to be the drinking age too, as 18. And now it's 21, so I keep wanting to think of it as the 21st Amendment.
They changed it in the late 70s.
Yeah,
to 21.
Yep. I remember when I was a kid and my cousins all got upset about that because they were getting close to the drinking age and then all of a sudden they weren't. But yeah. Point being, you're not rebelling when you're literally just stepping onto the fast track, right? That propels you through all of the red tape to get you what you want. Oh, gynocentrism right now. I'm going to use this gynocentrism against the gynocentric culture. No, you're not. You're actually just moving forward the gynocentric government, and the gynocentric government is only gynocentric because you're helping them get more control over men.
And
right? Not rebelling at all.
And somebody who says that gynocentrism doesn't exist.
Yep.
She keeps saying that over and over again.
A lot of feminists say that. And it's easy for them to say, right? If they excuse or ignore all the things that are done in society for women. I just had an example today in a conversation. So if you look at crime rates, violent crime rates, mugging, robbery, any type of aggravated assault, sexual assaults, homicide and attempted homicides, the overwhelming majority of perpetration is against male victims. And the overwhelming majority of arrests are male perpetrators. But when women do it, they don't get arrested unless they commit a murder. And then they can't get away with that as easily. And when women do it, people come up with excuses, right? She was scared. He was threatening her. When women do it to other men, or when women do it to other women, if the assailant happens to be the cute one, she still gets away with it. But in any case, when women are the victims, feminists will talk about that. The tiny percentage of victims, right, that are women, and the tiny percentage of the population that are perpetrators, they'll treat that as evidence that men are bad, even though the percentage of men that perpetrate is less than 1 in most crimes, and the percentage of women who are victims is also actually very small. Right? They're all minority percentages, and yet they treat these statistics as evidence of things that they would only be evidence of if they were majority statistics. So this woman argues to me that men are bad protectors. They're bad protectors because some women still get hurt. Most women don't, but some women do. Well, when you look at the statistics, the other thing that feminists use to claim that men are bad is that when women do get hurt, it's usually by a man they're close to, a family member, often an intimate partner. People choose their intimate partners. Other men are not forcing that woman to marry Jeff the killer instead of Joe the boy next door that they think is boring. So they're not bad protectors. They've told her, I think that Jeff the killer, he might be a bad guy. You probably shouldn't hang around with him. But as soon as she gets hurt, feminists will blame them anyway. What are guys supposed to do? Chaperone women and tell them who they may or may not associate with? Because the last time women faced that level of social control, they got mad and demanded change. And when they got change, then they had the right to make their own decisions about who they were going to date and who they were going to marry. And here we are with the most popular romantic novels that women like to read being about abusive men and monsters, literal monsters.
Is that why Beauty and the Beast is popular?
Probably. So yeah, feminists are not rebelling. They're not rebelling. They're exploiting the mechanisms that run civilization to their advantage. That's not rebelling. that's participation.
And I've met William Costello a couple of times through the years. He's okay, but he talks all the feminist talking points.
So he's misguided.
Yeah.
Well-meaning but misguided. Would that be fair?
But he sticks up for incels for some reason.
Probably because he is well-meaning. Like, I can't see a feminist man doing that unless he had good intentions. Because a feminist man who doesn't have good intentions will trample other men. He'll throw other men under the bus.
I guess because he does
the easiest thing to do.
I guess he doesn't see us as competition. So.
Well, there is that. But let's see what else he had to say here. She says, I ask Costello how you can approach de-radicalizing one of these men. After he just said that they can't even get therapy without being accused of toxic masculinity and privilege. That feminists want men to talk about their feelings, but then condemn men for talking about their feelings. He just highlighted a major issue, and she says, well, how can you de-radicalize one of these men? And I bet she doesn't realize that she's part of the problem.
She does, but she doesn't care.
That's a possibility. He suggests internet forums for men who have left being an incel behind. So did they find somebody to partner up with, I wonder? Such as Incel Exit, and giving men positive role models and sympathetic dating coaches. Have you heard of Incel Exit, Richard?
No. It's some who claim to be ex-incels, but they're not really ex-incels, or they weren't really incels in the first place. They just think they were.
Everyone is an incel by default. Are they not? Is this not like Virgin? I mean, I know it's sometimes exactly the same as Virgin, but
I was going to say it has to be involuntary. If you are purposely not having sex, you're not an incel.
But the moment you develop the desire to, the moment you so much as notice the bodies of the opposite sex around you, that's when you've become voluntary. Well, not when it comes to sexual acts, but that's when you want to. I mean, that's literally we're talking about sexual desire, want.
Well, it's not just a desire thing. I mean, think about it this way, all right? When feminists talk about consent, and we bring up the fact that men's consent isn't sought out by women on the same level that they expect women to seek out, or expect men to seek out women's consent. And we always run into some idiot that treats arousal as consent if the person who is aroused is a man, even though they don't treat arousal as consent if the person who is aroused is a woman. And they'll even make the argument that men don't have the same self-control as women, yada, yada, yada. But there have been numerous religions throughout history and other philosophical belief systems and such that have required lifetime celibacy or periods of celibacy that were long. And celibacy is generally voluntary, or it's expected to be voluntary. And it's not something that you have forced upon you. It's that you are exercising the discipline to be celibate despite the availability of partners. And so I would not say that incel is the condition of all people who are not having sex. I don't think that that's a quite a correct statement. But I don't know. We do have a resident expert here.
Well,
Howdy.
hi.
Howdy.
It's
so weird to hear with a British accent.
I'm just saying. I don't know to what extent I have been an incel. The love of my life and I were kept apart for 3 years because of certain geopolitical circumstances, and for those 3 years, we were both incels. So
there you go.
I don't know what that means, but the point I was trying to get across is that incel is. It's such a horribly loaded term that it doesn't really mean anything that someone has done or said. It is a default state. Like, the vast majority of human beings, the moment they enter puberty, become very interested in sex. That's not to say they want to be buggered by a pedophile, but they are. They enter that stage where they obviously want to have sex. We've all been there. This isn't all that controversial, but the idea of making an incel like a term akin to some kind of terrorist cell is it's I've been for many years I've been trying to get across how warped that is, because like 95% of teenage boys, by that definition, become incels the moment they hit puberty, and so then it's a race against time to make sure they don't become incels.
That is why feminists
to make sure they
that label that way. See,
get their rocks off inside the next chick they can fucking find, and it's
well, here's the
far
thing.
more exploitative of boys than it is of girls.
You hit on something important, right? The fact that feminists can claim that it is a race against time from the moment that they hit puberty, that they become incels by default at the moment they hit puberty, according to the definition you're going by. And I would say feminists are using that definition. When feminists declare something an emergency, they do that for the purpose of being able to make it academic, not in the term of examining it carefully, like you would, but for the purpose of creating like university classes, university research, and then designing training courses that they can then send feminists out to different schools and train people. They did this with consent, right? Every university in the United States, when students go through orientation, they have to take a consent workshop or a consent class, or they have a consent seminar or some other such dumbass big university-wide lesson on consent. And the reason I say it's a dumbass thing is because it's based on feminism. It's not actually based, right? It's designed by feminists. There's always an organization that designs the materials that are used in that, and there's always somebody getting paid to facilitate that. Be the professor, be the leader, the discussion leader, give a speech, whatever, a presentation. There's a lot of money in this. So I expect the same thing to happen with regard to incels that happened with regard to consent.
I think the information is getting out on incels the correct way. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because people's minds are starting to change about incels.
That's good. That's good, because I was already starting to see feminists getting dollar signs on their eyeballs. Like they were already on social media talking about how every school needs to have classes teaching boys how to respect women.
And that's sadly starting to happen. Because in my cousin's school, he has to go to a class like is his last class of the day, and by the end of the day, they're already tired. So the information kind of gets into their head.
Yeah. They did that with did that with turning the portion of anatomy and physiology study that kids get in health class about the reproductive system into sex education. They took it out of reproductive or out of health class, like regular health class, and they have this whole separate unit now. And instead of just teaching about the mechanics of it, how this is how your body works, this is how to be healthy, this is how to not be healthy, please avoid not being healthy. They started teaching them stuff like, you might be a girl trapped in a boy's body and just not realize it. Do you like pink things? Like it was completely fucked up. And it took them about 30 years to get from it's unhealthy to sleep with everything that moves without using any kind of protection to keep yourself from picking up any sexually transmitted diseases. And by the way, here's what happens during gestation and childbirth. To you might just be trapped in the wrong body. You might not even have a gender at all. There are 72 different classifications you can choose from. If you choose one, just kind of, I hope that doesn't happen with feminist attack on incel culture. But it's always a goal of theirs when they see something like this.
Oh, and I also told my psychologist about the interview today.
Good.
He seemed kind of worried. I told him everything's okay, but he's a feminist as well. So I said everything's okay. But he's going to listen to the interview and get back to me.
A psychologist that is a feminist. Surprise, surprise, surprise. That's one of the first areas that intersectionality feminism invaded.
Because I got in trouble last year when they talked about adolescence. When I said about single mothers, I got in trouble because of that.
I could see that. How I get in trouble for just pointing out the difference between accountability and failure to be accountable in issues like prevention of conception versus abortion. So
you would say that you're a man. Oh, 0 days. It's been 0 days.
So Costello said, let's see, besides Incel Exit, which I now have to figure out. I'm going to have to find that website or whatever and see what it is.
Can we talk about when you get back?
Yeah, definitely. I'll find it and we can look at it. Giving men positive role models and sympathetic dating coaches is a good thing, but who gets to decide what, well, I don't know about dating coaches. Sometimes dating coaches are just dipshits that want to make money without actually helping you.
They don't really care about men. They care about making money.
Right. But positive role models, like every time men get a positive role model, you know what happens? Feminists try to tank that role model.
They get self-fulfillment.
But he says, it's very easy for me to diagnose the problem, but it's a lot harder to shift the needle. There's been very little academic research on how to eradicate incel culture. We must eradicate the incels. It's good luck. Good luck, feminists. It's been around for as long as there have been humans. There are many people who occupy the same men's rights spaces as incels who aren't obsessed with hating women. I love that. With hating women. The guys that want relationships with women get accused of hating women.
Most don't hate women. They just hate the situation that they're in.
Yep.
And a lot of them just see the women around them, and they honestly do hate women. I don't blame them. I don't fucking blame them.
So if all the women around me were like the women I talk to on Twitter that get mad at me, I would hate women.
So the slang for women in incel forums, they call women toilets now. Instead of voids.
Oh God.
Because nobody's using the word void now, and they're using all of our slang. So we're gonna have to come up with a new.
Yeah, to come up with new slang.
Because my cousin used the word void last week, and I did a double take.
Are they associating it with skibbity toilet?
No, they're using it as a slang word because they watch videos. Not incel type videos, but like dating videos, and the men in those videos used to use the word void. And I said, you know who created that word, don't you? And they get a shocked look at their face.
Yeah, people will use language like that without realizing where it originated or what it means. But
can anyone tell me what the skibbity toilet thing means or how it originated?
Mike,
I don't.
You can't.
Oh, don't get started because that's
it's a long. It's
a long
thing,
story.
Mike. Yeah.
If the best way to understand it is to look it up, find the channel, go all the way back to the beginning, the early videos, which that's a long ways now. And start watching.
It sounds like me trying to explain purple and green to someone. Because I know that origin story. A lot of you do, but to try and explain it to someone else is like no, I can't do it. I can do it, but I'm not going to do it.
Let me put it this way: as an animator, you'll either love it or hate it. But as a story watcher, I love it.
I will choose to put it out of my mind, and I'm sorry for interrupting the flow of the show.
You're not interrupting. It's a conversation.
Mike, do you like poop jokes?
Pimp jokes.
Like poop jokes. That's skibbity toilet. It's a long poop joke. It's a long poop joke.
Very long poop joke.
That has cleared nothing up, and I'm again sorry to have brought it up.
I'll send you a link
with the show.
when I get a chance.
You do not need to send me any links. I will forget this entire conversation. I guarantee it.
Mike just opened up a long toilet.
Yeah, Mio Forcina. I have 2 of them, 2, but just 2. Just the TV heads. But in any case. And there's a reason for that besides liking skibbity toilet. A long story that I'm not even going to get into. HBR Talk 404 topic already site. HBR Talk 404 show not found. That's going to have to be a topic not found. I have broken Mio Forcina. They're plastic. They're not. They're kind of like they're not action figures. You can't you can move their arms and turn the heads, position them a little bit, but their legs don't move. But anyway, that's way off topic. But yeah. So she says this thing about obsessed with hating women. I notice I think she's projecting there. She's obsessed with hating men. So she assumes that they're obsessed with hating women.
They always project.
Yep. I noticed another Reddit user, Harry, on various subreddits arguing with some of the hardliners. Hardliners. He enjoys navigating the treacherous waters of the manosphere as a dissident, he says. So, in other words, he goes in there to stir shit. He cares about men's rights, and it's frustrating when they get it wrong. I have run into those people.
So he's the Tin Man. Huh?
Yeah, well, not there are people that show up in the men's rights subreddit. There are concern trolls that show up in the men's rights subreddit that their whole thing is trying to pretend to care about men and men's rights. They don't. It's like Tin Man has different ideas than some people. So he still cares about men's rights, but he butts heads with people who have a different perspective. But he's not feminist. But we get feminists that come in and they'll concern troll. I don't know a better way to put it. I used to keep track of it for a while. I kept track of it for a couple of years. And I had a whole several page blog post titled "For the Record." It's probably still up on the Breaking the Glasses blog, of these people that would come in. One of them was hilarious. What would your mother think of the things that you talk about? And one guy was like, my mom's here. Her name is @ and another username. And the other user was like, yeah, I'm the one that got my son started coming to this. But we have that. We have people that somebody introduced. There was I hope I don't get another long discussion about this going, but there was a horrible news story. There were two horrible news stories, actually, of situations where somebody snapped and killed another person. And in one of those, a father at some kind of party that was happening at his house, at his own home, his 5-year-old, he couldn't find her. And he started looking around, and he went out behind some outbuilding, and one of the guys on his crew, in his employ, basically, was raping her. And he snapped in the moment and killed that guy, which, in the moment like that, it is possible for someone to completely break from reality. It's called a psychotic break when it happens, and you don't necessarily know why. But under that circumstance, it's from trauma. And you don't always have control over what you're doing in a moment of trauma where you don't have time to think in between your witnessing or experience of the trauma and the moment that you come into contact with its cause. And so that guy was basically the court determined that he had not committed homicide. Like, he wasn't guilty of a crime. And then there was an example of a woman, and this case is now, like, it was old in 2013 when we ended up talking about it in the men's rights subreddit. So it's super old now, but it was, I think, in Brazil. This woman, her daughter had been raped by an adult man, and their prison system has some weird thing where he got to go home on some sort of weekend furlough, which, to an American, I will tell you right now, for anybody listening from a foreign country, that is one of the most bizarre things I have ever learned about a foreign country, that they would let a child molester out on furlough to go home to the community where the child he perpetrated against was. And then he has to report back to jail after that, voluntarily. That just is really strange. But in any case, they let him out, and this woman ran into him downtown, and he asked her, "How is your daughter doing?" And she went home, got a gas can, went to a gas station, filled it, went from the gas station to find him at a bar that he frequented, and went in there and poured it over him, lit a match, set him on fire. It took him 11 days to die. And the two cases were presented as if they were the same, because the outrage was the same over the criminal's perpetration. Both were child molesters. And in both cases, they molested little girls. In one case, the parent who killed the perpetrator was a father. In the other case, the parent who killed the perpetrator was a mother. And so they ignored the detail of in the moment versus time to think, and immediate killing versus tortured to death over the course of 11 days. And that was a concern trolling that one actually created a lot of conversation, at least. But it was done with intent to, it wasn't done with intent to hash out morals and ethics and stuff like that. It was done with intent to try to portray the men's rights movement as accepting when a man commits a murder, but not accepting when a woman does it. Right? That it's bad when a woman does it, but it's not bad when a man does it. When in reality, if they had both done exactly the same thing, walked in on the incident and immediately snapped and afterward regretted their actions, that would be a different story. But the two stories were not the same. But in any case, we get trolls like that all the time. So this guy, I don't know if he's like that, but it sort of sounds like it. So apparently, she's going to describe him. Here we go. I met Harry on a sunny day in Huntingdon, at the local Weatherspoon. He's in his mid-40s, bald and with a large black stud earring. He studied philosophy at university, where he read gender theorist Judith Butler, and now works in education, teaching social sciences. It's an area dominated by women, he says, who were great at talking about women's rights, and that made him think about the rights of men. So, essentially, this guy's a male feminist. It's lonely being a men's rights activist, Harry says. If you go to a cocktail party and you say to somebody, I'm a feminist, most people won't raise an eyebrow. If you say I'm a men's rights activist, people go, oh, right, you're one of them. Honestly, I don't have that experience. I don't go to cocktail parties, but I mean, I've had people who aren't part of the movement and don't have, they're not talking politics all the time, learn that I'm a men's rights activist, and they don't start out, oh, you're one of them. They ask me questions about it. What do you do? What is that? What rights do you fight for? What kind of methods do you use? If they find out I'm a live streamer, it's what do you talk about on your live streams? Most people aren't that polarized. They're not as polarized as you see people being on the internet. The general public actually is more interested in knowing what's what than dictating what people are doing. And the only time that hasn't been true is during the stupid mask debate, when I had some dipshit lady accuse me of breathing her air from 10 feet away. One of them. Feminism, Harry says solemnly, has the social lubrication that male advocacy lacks. I'm going to read a couple of super chows because I just saw them. Official Reverse Traditionalism channel on YouTube says $10, gave us $10 and said, Doc, when you said last week that you believe that there is a presence to fathers that is threatening, do you think you could fan that out into an argument that children paradoxically find fathers comforting because it means they could protect them better? That is a good question. Mike, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Have I lost Mike and Lauren?
Yeah.
Crud.
It's just, I think the internet connection keeps dropping.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility.
Or Mike's gone for a smoke.
Or something, yeah. But well, if Mike can't, I can.
It's with the feminist woman writing about all of this, I think she doesn't want to help incels. I think she's trying to shame them.
Yeah, I think she is too. In fact, I think she's trying to shame men for caring about men's issues in a way that doesn't put women first. So,
and it doesn't put women in a bad light as well.
Yeah. One way that I could do what Official Reverse Traditionalism channel does, said, you know how when you're a kid and you always think there's like a monster in your closet or under your bed, or the shadows in your rooms are scary. You're not afraid of the dark so much as afraid of the things in that might be in it that you can't.
Hello?
Gosh darn it.
Hello?
It's my computer. It's stops recognizing my microphone for a second. And it's because I have a loose connection. I might have to I'll have to fix that, but if I fix it tonight, it's going to take time. But in any case, when you're a little kid and you know how in movies and stuff they always have a parent come in and scare all the bad scary monsters away. I never had to have that. My dad used logic. He said, is there really anything that could possibly fit into your room that you wouldn't be able to see that's going to be scarier than I am? And I was never scared of the dark again.
My grandmother used to do that as well. Because it was just a jumper underneath our bed that I was scared of.
An adult with authority can calm those fears just by presenting themselves as a barrier to any scary thing getting to you. And mostly that's fathers, but sometimes it's grandmas. My grandma could have done that. My grandma was like Gandalf. She's like the female Gandalf. Not with magic, but personality-wise.
Don't give them any ideas. They might change Gandalf into a female.
Yeah, I don't think it would work as well. But you'd have to have met my grandma. She was very soft-spoken. She didn't yell.
Oh, you got the nice version. Because I got the nice version of my grandmother. Because she was mean to my mom and her sister and her brothers, but I got the nice version of my grandmother.
See, my grandma didn't really. She carried herself in such a way that one time when she was carjacked, she rode down the block with the guy. She hadn't gotten out of the car. The guy got in and told her to drive. And they got about a block. She turned to him. She stopped the car. She turned to him and she said, "You get out of here right now," which normally would get you killed. But he did. He got out. He left.
So she had like a stern authority.
Yep. That was my grandma. She did not have to yell. She didn't yell because she did not have to yell. And she didn't have to tell you to do something twice. But she was kind and she was loving. She wasn't a meanie or anything like that. It's just, you didn't have to have any evidence presented to you to know that you didn't disobey grandma. Like, that was just the way it was. And most of the people that I've met in my life that have been like that are men. But my grandma was the exception. Meredith G gave us $10 and said, HBR Talk 403, honey for the Badgers. Sorry to miss out last week. Thanks for the thought-provoking discussion. Mangaka 92. Dad, I'm scared of the dark. What are you, stupid? No. That my dad just made the point, that nothing else was going to be as scary as he was, and anything that was going to try to be scary, he would just kick its ass.
I can remember when I was a kid, my stepdad used to put hot sauce on my thumb because I used to suck my thumb a lot. So he put hot sauce on my thumb.
Did it work?
So, no. What helped was he also put like one of those plastic bandages on my thumb. That stopped me sucking my thumb.
Yeah, those don't taste good.
But the hot sauce thing, it put me off hot sauce for life.
Yeah. I never sucked on my thumb. I always had these two fingers, my first and second finger. And the problem with those is that they're longer than your thumb. So I found my gag reflex in the middle of the grocery store. And that was the end of that. But and I actually remember the experience. So Harry says that he goes to cocktail parties and tells people he's a men's rights activist. I don't go places and tell people I'm a men's rights activist. It comes up occasionally in conversation because of other things. But most of the time, unless a gender issue is under discussion, that's not really in the forefront of, like me, what I'm talking about with people every day in my everyday life. Harry thinks it's important to talk about men's issues. And it is, in the appropriate time and place. Just like I wouldn't talk about feminism or any other politics, Republicans versus Democrats, gun control, or any of that, unless the discussion was a political discussion.
I thought you guys don't really talk about gun control no more. Or is it still a topic?
In the United States or in the men's rights movement?
In the United States.
Oh yeah. It's still a topic. There are still people that think gun control is something besides, trigger finger discipline. But
I say keep your guns and the amendment.
Yeah, we definitely do need to keep our guns. And we've seen what happened in the UK. We need to keep our guns.
And Australia.
Yeah, in Australia. There's a lot of commentary around men, but there's not a lot of participation from men, he says. Does he realize that there's more than 250,000 people in the men's rights subreddit? And almost all of them are men. Only a few are women. In men's rights forums, he talks about men's issues, healthcare outcomes, mental health, crime. He was interested in what kind of role men have in relationships, the distribution of domestic responsibilities, and pressures on men to be the breadwinner. He felt that societal expectations discouraged men from working in certain fields, such as teaching and psychology, and taking on domestic workloads. He still sounds like a feminist to me. And he minded that men rarely get more than 2 weeks of paternity leave, and if they do, it's unpaid or taken from the mother's time off. It creates this adversarial tone of my rights are opposed to your rights. How can men's paternity leave be taken from the mother's time off? Do they is it... My husband and I don't even work for the same company. I don't know how that would work.
I guess the mother would have to sacrifice her 6 months to a year and give 2 weeks to her husband.
That doesn't even make any sense because it isn't this, if it isn't the same company, unless he lives in a country where the government pays it.
I think that's how they
basically
do it.
taking their people.
I think that's how they do it.
That's crazy. He is frustrated by the manosphere's focus on women who want to go on who women want to go out with. That's fake. She made this person up. There's
They
not. They always what?
They always make stuff up.
Yeah. Because if you go into a men's rights forum, that might get discussed briefly. But the overwhelming majority of posts, most of the discussion is going to be about custody rights in divorce cases, custody rights in outside of wedlock childbirth cases,
alimony and child support.
Yep, alimony and child support, and due process rights in cases of accusations of intimate partner or sexual violence. Right? Those are like the hot topics. You get a lot of discussion about suicide. You get a lot of discussion about, because that's a huge issue as well. And you get a lot of discussion about the inability of men to find good therapists that will talk to them about their problems instead of accusing them of having toxic masculinity having feelings.
It's very difficult to get a good therapist if you have suicidal ideation. It's very difficult to talk about anyway. So
it is, and there's one of the difficult things talking about suicidal ideation is you have this really thin line you have to walk. You can't make your shrink think that you're actually at risk in the near future or anything like that, because then they'll institutionalize you.
Because I have to walk that fine line as well. Because I can't joke about suicide because people will think I'm being serious.
Yeah. Especially not in front of me because I'm a worrywart.
Yeah.
Like every time my husband is 5 minutes late, well, back when he was driving to and from work, every time he was 5 minutes late getting home, I had visions of car accidents and like would just be really glad when he walked in the door. Like that's me. It's the only thing I'm neurotic about is that something bad is going to happen to somebody I care about. So
because I know I can't joke about suicide on here, but I just joke. I can joke about it on Twitter, but that's the only place I can joke about it.
Well, you have to be careful doing that too, because if you ever have had to report an account, that's unless it's changed in the last couple years, that's one of the things that you can report people for is suicidal ideation. But so this made up person says
he gets frustrated by men's rights influences.
Yeah. He says, I don't think dating is a men's rights issue because it's not a right. Oh my God, stupid. Feminists think dating is a feminist issue because having your consent requested before you are touched in any way is a right, according to them. Right? They consider it a right to be treated a certain way, to be treated like a lady, even if they're not a lady, like even if they're some sort of gutter snipe, or if they act like me. I do not expect to be treated like a lady. I belch and fart and pick my nose and everything, so that's not very ladylike, guys. So you could tell dirty jokes in front of me. I even have been busted in court for telling rape jokes. So there you go. But in any case, feminists think that there are all kinds of rights issues around dating, and they have had laws passed and policy made in universities and workplaces and other organizational institutions that affect men's lives. Therefore, dating is a men's rights issue. But Harry says it's a choice. So if something is a choice, it cannot also be a rights issue. I can think of something that would apply to. I'm just, this is, nobody would say that in real life. I don't think anybody that had the wherewithal to make contact with a journalist and have a discussion with her would be dumb enough to say that if something is a choice, there are no rights issues related to it.
Because feminists don't believe men have any rights.
I guess. I feel dumber for having read that.
Sorry.
I think brain cells died. Drinking is the... It's okay. It's not your fault. Well, you did send me the article. But do they think that there's not a right to do what you want with your own body?
Not if you're a man.
What you eat and drink?
Not if you're a man, it's not.
Oh my gosh. He goes on, that's not really something where you can appeal to, like, the government. So rights come from the government. Okay. So this is a made up guy, because if somebody was actually going to men's rights forums, they would be aware that men's rights issues are not all government issues. We talk about law and policy issues, but we also talk about social issues and social behavior and how to handle various types of social behavior and what we think of various types of social behavior. Like women deciding to date Jeff the Killer instead of Joe the Boy Next Door. And then complaining that Joe the Boy Next Door didn't protect them when Jeff the Killer turned out to be Jeff the Killer. Who probably nobody remembers. But, yeah. I really do. I feel dumber for having read that. It's bad enough that she made up a guy. But
yeah, she made him up.
She made him so stupid.
I remember Jeff the Killer for what it's worth.
Oh, thank you.
He was a piece of shit, that Jeff the Killer. He was like the total jerk.
Was she researching Skibidi Toilet Mike?
Dude, why? Why would you do that? Why would you do this to us?
Sorry.
So our made-up guy goes on here, and he wants to move away from obsessing over women. In a group that's supposed to be for discussion of the rights of men, they spend 90% of the time talking about what women are doing. See, this is why nobody believes feminist journalists. Like, there isn't a dude in the men's rights movement that talks like this. There just isn't.
Not even in the extended manosphere. And
no.
It annoys me these days that manosphere refers to these... The kinds of people Louis Theroux talked to. I don't want to name any of their names because, you know, their names have all been thrust into the limelight precisely for the sake of painting the manosphere as just these filthy rich online influencers, as though there hasn't been this shit going on for like a dozen years or more, fucking a century or more.
Yeah.
Of, normal people just saying normal things. And yeah, once it's forever buried under this avalanche of cartoonish villains. And I'm sick of it, and I don't know what my original point was, but you sound like you have one to go on top of it, Hannah, so go ahead.
There you go. When there is common sense to be had, but it would cost your movement a shit ton of money, and there's a convenient dipshit epidemic to point to and say, that's the people that are telling you that they have common sense, so that you can shut people up about common sense. That's what you do. And so that's what they're doing. Harry sees these videos on social media all the time where women are exposed for being shallow, gold-digging, cruel. He describes a typical plot. A guy looks down and out, in comes a woman, she looks disapproving, then he walks to a really expensive car, now she comes back and is all over him. It's so obviously fake. That guy was probably in another clip with like this with another woman 2 days ago, but in the comments, men lap it up. Oh yeah, typical woman. I've seen those videos, and it doesn't really matter. They could be 100% solid gold, genuine. Like they could be captures of the security video from a nearby store, and these women would say it's fake. But the truth is that women do that. I've seen women do that. I've literally seen women do that exact thing in conjunction with guys that I've been hanging out with that had it dressed down but had expensive cars. And it's hilarious when they do it. It's even funnier when they do it and there's another woman there and they don't know what her role is, right? But I mean, like, honestly, if I was in that situation, back when I was dating, I wouldn't have noticed one way or another. Like, it wouldn't have made a difference to me. I'd have been more interested if he started working on the car than I would if it was a nice car. But in any case, and actually I married the guy that works on cars, so there you go. This isn't unusual at all. It is typical, and there isn't anything. There's like dozens of videos like that online, but there's also dozens of videos online of, some guy, some guy finding out the police know where the bodies are. I know this because since I listen to creepypasta readers and like weird events readers and Reddit aliens and all that, trying to go to sleep. YouTube thinks that I want true crime and promotes that shit to me all the time. There's videos of Karens getting their comeuppance. There's videos of guys trying to embarrass women and then the woman turns it around on him. They might all be fake. Like 99% of what's on YouTube might be fake. I might not even be a real person. I'm actually I'm I'm Lauren's sock puppet. But in any case,
I can confirm I am not real. I am not even anyone's sock puppet. I am Satan's sock puppet. And so are you, ladies and gentlemen. Deal with it.
Exactly. If you stop thinking about us, though, the entire matrix will go down and you'll all disappear. this thing of getting upset that guys get some sort of catharsis from watching that stuff. Have they ever heard of soap operas? Because there's like usually 6 or 7 of them running at any given time on the network television channels during the day, and women used to just eat that shit up. I don't know if they do now or not, but there's a lot of serials now, a lot of shows that are serials that run like soap operas and play like soap operas. They got a little more complicated in the 90s. Women's soap operas started getting into ideas like magic and angels and demons and shit like that, vampires and stuff. And then you have law based, like, and police based shows that are more soap opera than anything now. It's all of that drama. Women lap that shit up like it is champagne and caviar, but they get upset that some guys watch a video showing a woman getting her comeuppance when a guy has a nice car, and they don't know it until after they turn him down. Like, I don't know, I would tell that guy to always dress like that. Help him sort out the shallow bitches. He mentions male body image, an absolute wreck of an area. A 2019 study by the Mental Health Foundation found that nearly a third of adult men in the UK have felt anxious because of body image issues. It's not surprising. Male fitness influencers tell men they're failing if they aren't in the gym every day. Andy Elliott, a ripped sales trainer, tells his 800,000 YouTube subscribers that he'll only hire men with 6-packs. How about you guys quit getting civilized and quit settling? He roars. For men, not having a perfect body is portrayed as a failure of character and an inability to work hard enough. But it's not these guys that are causing that, right? These guys are a symptom of it. They're selling that because women treat guys who are chubby or bald or short or too asymmetrical in their face, or their facial hair doesn't grow in perfectly, or they have too much, or they have not enough, anything like that. Maybe they're the wrong skin color, right? Maybe they're just a little bit different from themselves, from the woman. Anything like that. They treat them as if they're beneath them. Oh, this guy's a fat slob. He's 10 pounds overweight, says the woman who takes up 3 seats on an airplane. Right? Quit your ham spreading. The reality is, I do see a lot of health information being discussed in men's rights subreddit, in other men's rights forums, among men's rights activists on social media. But it doesn't all revolve around muscles. In fact, quite a bit of it has to do with things like prostate cancer and funding for different types of cancer research and mental health issues and being able to get something decent in terms of a doctor and a therapist. Difficulty going to the doctor, and in particular difficulty with your wife going to the doctor, because the doctor is now going to grill your wife to find out if she sounds like she's being abused. And it's really uncomfortable when they do that, by the way. Like, last time I went to the doctor, she had to ask me those questions. And she asked me 2 days after I found out that we had an MS-13 gang member for a neighbor if I felt safe in my home. And if I had not known what she was doing, I would have said no. But I did know what she was doing. And so I told her, I know what you're doing. I know what you're asking me about. My husband is the sweetest, kindest, gentlest person I know, and does not do anything mean or bad to me. But I don't feel safe because there's a gang member living in our neighborhood now from a cartel in Mexico, and that information was very disturbing. She didn't really know how to take that. Like, they don't really know how to handle, even a doctor who has been relegated to an arm of the bureaucracy doesn't know what hole to put the wrong shaped peg into. That answer doesn't fit any of the criteria that she's supposed to be looking for. So she decided to ignore it, and we went on to something else. Harry puts a lot of men's mental health issues down to a sense of failing at practical endeavors. I have too much debt. I don't feel I'm good enough provider. I don't feel like I'm a good enough husband. I don't feel like my job is good enough. I feel like that's bullshit. There's probably some, but there's a significant portion of the issues being talked about in men's rights movement that a lot of men's mental health issues come down to the way they are treated. They're not talking about themselves as failures. They're talking about themselves as rejects. They're talking about themselves as losers. Not losers in terms of somebody that is uncool, but losers in terms of somebody who played and lost. You know, this guy got married, had kids, spent 7 or 8 years in the marriage with his wife, raising the kids together, and then she cheated on him, divorced him, moved out, took the kids, and went to live with the other guy, and he's left trying to fight for custody rights and fair treatment by the Child Support Enforcement Agency on a budget of 15% of his gross income, because that's what's left after the state takes out everything that it's allowed to take out between taxes and the child support that he's paying. And he's depressed because he's broke, and he's depressed because he feels abused by the situation, because he is, and he feels rejected. But he's not viewing himself as a failure. He's a victim, and he's recognizing it. And it's depressing to be a victim. That's a mental health issue too. But if you walk in...
Why do women love being a victim so much?
I don't know. That one I don't know. Like, I guess it's not so much alike. I think it's being victims.
Well, it's not that difficult to explain when you consider what babies do. I mean,
that's true.
They naturally play the victim, don't they? In all kinds of ways. They scream when they need to scream, even if they don't need to scream, and they lie. Like, children, and I mean babies, learn to lie with their screaming. It's like before they can even talk. One of the first things a baby learns to do is lie, and it's by screaming when it doesn't need to scream, just to get attention. Like, this only gets exacerbated once they learn how to articulate reality with their laryngeal apparatus. You know, this should be all you need to do to explain to people. Well, why would they lie? Like, why would that many women lie about being raped? It just doesn't make sense. Well, no, it does. It makes perfect sense because human beings learn to lie as soon as they possibly can, and if they continue to get away with it, they will continue to lie. It's really easy to lie. It involves almost no calories whatsoever. You just flip a switch in your brain like a NOT gate in your brain, and just like that, you have improved your situation with regard to other people's situation. Because he got one over them. He got one over on them, and that's and this is why it's very important that it is instilled into people from an early age that you must not lie. But I guess this is generally done to males. Not so much with females. Because it's been 1,000 years of romantic chivalry, and it's been drilled into us when a woman says something, or when a girl says something. When a fucking 3-year-old girl says something, we're like, well, that must be true. Women, girls are made of fluffy things. Can't remember what they even are now. Boys are made of snips and snails and puppy dog's tails and
that right. Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Just
That sort of thing. I should look into how old that cliche is, because I suspect it's as old as romantic chivalry itself. It sounds like it.
Oh yeah.
We're talking grade 8 stuff now, ladies and gentlemen. This shit isn't as old as feminism. It's as old. It's approximately medieval. All right. And it
goes back to King Arthur.
King Arthur wasn't real, but yeah, it goes back to legends of that sort of historical period. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be old.
We've almost finished the article.
Yeah. Have we? Oh shit! Sorry.
I think so. Yeah. The internet, by the way, says the nursery rhyme is from 1846. The earliest specific record of the full verse is from 1846. The earliest documented print is attributed to Gammer Gurton's Garland in 1818. So that could be accurate. But anyway. So let's see. When women are unlucky in love, they have sympathetic support networks, Harry adds. So yeah, I think both genders get lonely, but I think just one form of loneliness is pathologized as an individual defect, while the other one is viewed as a victim of circumstance. That's probably the only intelligent thing he said. Jay Watts, a psychologist who specializes in men's mental health, agrees with this sentiment. Men have always struggled with having those kind of relationships that ward off things like loneliness, she tells me. That's always been seen as women's work. Do these people realize that men used to have whole organizations where they just hung out with other men and did stuff together as a group?
But then the women faded.
Yeah, they probably don't even realize that how many organizations used to just be men's organizations.
You mean governments? You mean royalty? You mean the people who led the world? No, we're talking about like cricket clubs. And like bowling, people play football together.
Well. Yeah, bowling clubs, social clubs, and social clubs, and D&D groups.
Yep. There used to be for every woman or girl who played Dungeons and Dragons, like I probably met 100 different guys that played before I met the first other female player. And then she would play like the fantasy RPGs, and she would play we played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and she would play the comedy stuff, but she had no interest in like BattleTech or any other kind of more machine oriented or technical oriented. None of that.
I was about to ask, what's like the video game equivalent of Barbie? Because you'd think there would be, but it was The Sims. Some of you might be old enough to remember The Sims. It was the biggest selling video game in
my friend tried to get me to play that. It was like the one thing I really wasn't interested in.
I tried playing it for a few hours. It was kind of addictive for a few hours, and then I was like, I can't be bothered with this anymore. But women went crazy for The Sims in the year 2000.
Well, I remember there were settings I could change that would cause things to glitch, and then you would get a baby with like a neck that was longer than the adults were tall. That was fun. But but the game itself, like just playing it for its own sake, was not really that cool.
I used to play Civilization.
I remember Civilization. Yeah. That was a fun one. And then I played some of the other different PC games. There's one that for years and years ago, one of the early like not amateur, but indie PC games that I used to love was called Yipe! ! And you had a sprite that was like the icon you would have for your folder or whatever. That was the size of the image. All the images were like that. And you just ran around a map killing things. That's funny.
It looks good though. The Yipe! !
Yeah. It is, if you can find it. I don't even know if it's out there anymore, but if you can find it, it is a fun game and it's addictive. I found all kinds of little indie games like that. There were a lot of them were made to run on Macintosh computers, and I had a Mac SE. I'm dating myself. That was it was in 1992, and
that was an old
yeah.
That was when not everybody had a Mac back in the 90s.
Yep, that was in the 90s. I got enough money together. I probably could have bought a really good used car with the amount of money I had, but instead I bought a Macintosh computer and a laser printer. Was really snazzy. It printed a whole 4 pages per minute. it took like 15 seconds to print a page.
That was like the top notch of printers back in the day, though.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was it was nice to have when I went to university, and I actually had some good use out of it for all kinds of different things. I mean, it was a good purchase, and I even made back some of that money doing layout and design and semi-professional printing for some of the other students. So they didn't go to Kinko's because they would have had to drive to another community.
How much did you charge for printing?
Just stuff? For if they designed it and I was just printing out what they brought me. Gosh, I don't remember that one. But if I was doing the work, if I was doing layout and design, if I was doing typesetting, and then I had other services like if you had written something and it was 500 words, but your minimum for, what your professor wanted was 1,000, I could find ways to make that work, make that happen. And mostly it was things like I would start asking questions, and then they would start answering my questions, and I would be like, well, if you write that in the paper, that adds this many words. And, but so I did stuff like that. And then I could also you can't do this anymore because professors will give you specifications for things like how your paper's justified, what your point size, what your text size is, how many points. They'll even go so far as to get out a little printer's ruler and measure how far apart your letters are and how big your margins are and everything. But I used to be able to use tricks like that to increase the pages and stuff like that. And then the other way around, if you wrote something too verbose, I could help pare it down so you could say everything you wanted to say in a lot less words or a lot fewer pages. But yeah, I used to charge depending on how many of those things, it was between $1 and $2 a page. But minimum wage back then was like $4.25 an hour. Maybe $3.85.
If it was $4.20.
No, minimum wage was never $4.20. It should have been. That would have been funny. But anyway. So he says when we did read that. Yeah, there is one is an individual defect, the other is a victim of circumstance. So we read Jay Watts, a psychologist who specializes in men's mental health, agrees with this sentiment. Men have always struggled with those kind of relationships that ward off things like loneliness, she tells me. But that's always been seen as women's work. Men's mental health organizations, such as the charity Man Up ? Are working to find ways for men to talk to one another without feeling embarrassed about their feelings. There's a movement, a men's shed movement, where men are working on this without
women having,
feminists be in charge of it, and women have started demanding entry. And this is why men. It's not that men don't talk about their feelings to each other. It's not that men don't talk about their problems. It's that men don't want us around. They don't want women around when they're doing that. They want women to keep their noses out of it. Like that's all that's really needed. Get men an opportunity to work together without women interfering. And you'll have participation from men. But apparently women can't do that. Let's see, we have a super chat from official Rev Trad, gave us $10 and said, on father's rights, the best evidence we have that the system is broken is the fact that we are surrounded by people who want it to be broken. Can you ask Doc my question now that he's back? Oh, that was our super chow. There's the first one. Official Reverse Traditionalism channel on YouTube gave us $10, Mike, and said, when you said last week that you believe there is a presence to fathers that is threatening, do you think you could fan that out into an argument that children paradoxically find fathers comforting because it means they could protect them better?
Someone's sleeping.
We knocked Lauren out. I hope we didn't knock Mike out. I can't tell whose voice that is.
I think that was Lauren's.
Is that Lauren? We knock Lauren out a lot. Lauren gets up early in the morning, though. Mike's, I'll ask him when he comes back again. Whatever is going on, I'll interrupt it. K.O. Hanna says, Mr. 303. Other groups, such as the barbershop movement, which encourages men to speak about their feelings at the barbers, and Men's Sheds Association, are designed to help men who struggle to open up. Charlie Bethel, Chief Executive Officer at Men's Sheds, says giving men practical projects such as woodworking or metalworking works as a distraction that allows them to talk about their feelings. If you put 12 men in a room and say, talk about your feelings, 6 will leave and the other 6 will try to find the corners, he tells me over the phone. If you put a lawnmower in the room, though, they say, and say, could you repair it? After 2 hours, the men will all know each other intimately. They'll know how they take their coffee, what ails them, what's their grandchildren's name or their children's names, and are and their grandchildren's names. I guess my brain just sort of turned those words all around, didn't it? Toxic elements of the men's rights movement means some men are too worried about being labeled a misogynist to talk about their issues. There's no male body positivity movement. That's not quite right either, is it? There's a female body positivity movement that is trying to normalize the unhealthiest female body types possible. There's a male movement that isn't labeled a body positivity movement that is trying to help motivate men to be healthy and to feel good about their bodies because they are making themselves healthy. I think that's better.
By going to the gym and dieting.
Yes, by going to the gym. And she bitched about that earlier in the article. Right? The women don't want men to solve their own problems. Women want to tell men what to do and be obeyed. And that's wrong. They're wrong for that. Women are wrong for that. For other things too, but that especially.
I think Mike's asleep.
I think so too. I think that is Mike.
No, I am not. Sorry,
you are awake.
I was outside having a smoke at the time. I was listening to you, but I couldn't respond.
We have a thing. Did you hear me read it?
I did, but I've completely forgotten what the question was.
Okay. I'm going to read it again, but I'm also going to put it in the chat so that you can look at it while you are, if you can see the chat. So, official reverse traditionalism channel on YouTube said, for $10, Doc, when you said last week that you believe that there is a presence to fathers that is threatening, do you think you could fan that out into an argument that children, paradoxically, find fathers comforting because it means that they could protect them better?
Right. I do not remember saying that fathers were a threatening force. I may have... I say a lot of things while I'm drunk, but...
It was probably in the course of discussing who's a better disciplinarian, mom or dad.
Well, it's that men have this deep voice. They have the ability to make threats without having to perform violence. I shouldn't need to explain this to most people. The father can just give the stink eye and be like, show you the back of his hand, but not actually show you the back of his hand. And this is what we talk about with a high trust society. These things don't just spring out from nowhere. They happen when force is threatened, but preferably never enacted. You know what I mean? When if you grow up with the understanding that if you fuck around, you'll find out, then you're going to create a high trust society. It's difficult to get this across, but this is largely the difference between what we call the first world and the third world. In the third world, all you do is fuck around as much as you can and hope that you never have to find out. And this is what people will tell you when they visit these third world countries. Like, you don't feel safe. Like, no matter where you go in that country, you just don't feel safe because you're surrounded by people whose raison d'etre is to fuck around and hope they never find out. Like, we in the West have for so long lived in a world where people just don't fuck around, lest they find out. Like, that's what a high trust society is. A society where people leave their doors open. Like, because no one's gonna invade your house and try to kill you. We've tried to get this through to the boomers of yesteryear, who ostensibly created this society where you can just leave your doors open because you're not going to get invaded and raped and murdered. But yeah, you might wonder how we got to that position in the first place. And yeah, it wasn't from women being liberal. It was from men being sheathed monsters. It was from men not being violent, but merely by implying violence. It all does come down to violence in the end, because what force is there other than force? Like, it does come down to force. And then you can find other ways of, like, forcing people, like through training or whatever. We talked about that earlier this week, I think, when it comes to training dogs. And like, there are many kinds of force, and one of them is conditional sort of training. And some don't want to some peoples take better to being trained than other peoples. Is that have I got that across without sounding racist or sexist?
Yeah.
I think
it's a lot harder to talk about this stuff when it gets your channel banned from just saying one wrong word, or somebody thinking you said something that implies a wrong word.
When I say peoples, by the way, I am differentiating between men and women. I just want to stick to the brief, right? Because all this stuff we've got going on between races is also still going on between sexes. It's all happening because of the stupid shit going on between sexes. None of that ever needed to happen. It was remember. It was the foothold that Marxism got into our civilization in the first place.
Angela Davis, the feminist student of cultural Marxist Frankfurt School philosopher, Professor Marcuse, who was a pretty much a founding father of cultural Marxism. Not the, but a founding father. And she was a founding mother of intersectional feminism and all of the victimhood that it uses. So let's see. It goes on.
Article.
Yeah, we have just a couple of paragraphs here. All right. I should not have moved that. There we go. We read that. No, toxic elements of the men's rights movement mean some men are too worried about being labeled a misogynist to talk about their issues. There is no male body positivity movement. Many men can't find sexual partners. They are under pressure to earn more. Men and boys make up around 80% of suicides in the UK. Two of the men I spoke to, Dan and Alex, are outsiders who talk openly about their loneliness. They have an obvious shame over failing the things expected of them. Get a job, get a girlfriend, get what they consider to be a good life. And the manosphere feeds their anger and tells them it's women they should blame. See, this is what this woman is really doing. She made up the other guy because that of all the concern trolls we had, none of them were quite that well-rounded in their concern trolling. But then she comes back to this idea, right? I don't think most men in the men's rights movement are too worried about being labeled a misogynist to talk about their issues. They might be worried if they were going to therapy, because you can be labeled a misogynist for going to therapy and complaining to your therapist that you miss your children because your ex-wife, hasn't let you see them for a year. Oh, you just hate your ex-wife. You're being a misogynist, like as if it has nothing to do with how you feel about your children, and being worried and wanting to see them and not wanting to miss milestones and so on, development. Then they might be, but they're not. No one in the men's rights movement is going, "You're a misogynist for talking about the custody issue that you're facing." That's not happening. And it never has. It's never been a movement issue. Very few things can be said in the men's rights movement, within conversation forums in the men's rights movement, from one MRA to another, where the listener is going to say, "Oh, you're a misogynist," right off the bat, and just not say anything else. That's bullshit. The bit about body positivity was bullshit. It was a dishonest presentation of how men talk about physical health issues. The sexual partners thing, that's also bullshit. She's not even paying attention to what's actually going on with a lot of men. It's not that they just can't find sexual partners. As said, many of them have stopped looking because they can't. It's not that they just can't find women who are interested. They can't find women who are interesting. They can't find women who are trustworthy enough. They know that any woman, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what standard they meet in the moment, might come back later and say it was rape. They can't find circumstances where it's safe for them to find a female sexual partner. But she's not going to talk about that. Right? And a lot of this, what she's saying here, is basically just shaming men for noticing that a large portion of the problem is female behavior and women's attitudes. Does it mean men have to be angry at women? No. And in fact, most of the men that I talk to seem to be sad about it more than they are angry. So she goes on, labor is trying to tackle misogyny. That's helpful. Of course, when you're dealing with men's issues and men's mental health and men's physical health and men's custody issues and men's due process rights issues, things like that, you should always just talk about misogyny. That's always the best approach. Jeez.
Women affected worst.
Meteor hits the Earth. In August, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said misogynistic hatred would be included in the government's extremism review, alongside Islamist and far-right extremism. Oh, good grief.
Most incels are left-wing.
Yeah, but, I have not yet heard of a single incel driving a truck of peace.
Nope.
When are you guys gonna get on that?
We're too busy in our office basements.
Yeah. The government also plans to help schools promote young male mentors who can teach pupils how to question influencers such as Andrew Tate. Dun dun dun. It's hard to imagine peer mentoring countering an endless stream of online hate. Oh, God.
What is phone 500?
So stupid. She's so stupid. Okay, so I don't know how old most of my listeners are, but I'm a Gen Xer, right? From the time I was 10, I guess, we got bombarded with stupid messages about peer pressure this and peer pressure that, and you use drugs because of peer pressure. You start smoking when you're a kid because of peer pressure. You start drinking because of peer pressure. You have to learn to resist peer pressure. So clearly, peer mentoring would be pretty effective if it was genuine. Right? Clearly, people would recognize that their peers, if the idea is popular or if the idea is a good idea, might be more interesting than something some dipshit on the internet says. Every single one of us that makes content on the internet for people to listen to, talking about gender issues and politics and all that, we can all be classified as just some dipshit on the internet compared to a real flesh and blood individual that is close to you and is sitting next to you, like emotionally close to you, personally close to you, but is also there, present physically where you are, that you can talk to, and you know that person. Like, the rest of us might have interesting things to say, and you might think about those things. But friends and family are worth much more in a lot of circumstances. So it's hard to imagine peer mentoring countering an endless stream of online hate. Well, there isn't an endless stream of online hate coming from men. Directed at men, yeah. Coming from men, not so much. But if popular boys decided to make, I don't know what to classify Tate as, con artists unpopular, then that would happen. They would become unpopular. But they have reason, I guess, to listen to that guy in some ways. Maybe y'all should have listened to Dr. Warren Farrell. Maybe y'all should have listened to Paul Elam. You wouldn't be worrying about the boys listening to Andrew Tate if you had.
Or Jordan Peterson.
Yep, Jordan Peterson. Or any of the, Justice for Men and Boys, the National Coalition for Men, any part of the actual manosphere that came along before the dipshit revolution. That would have solved the problem before it ever came along. She says, some of this hatred leads to violence, but incels are less prone to violence than other extremist groups, Costello tells me. You think?
All I do is watch training videos.
We're in a literal hot war with other extremist groups right now. Yeah, and incels, a lot of incels just watch train videos. Jeez, Pete. We might think, we think they might just be pacified by the internet. Says somebody who has clearly never been trolled. The internet is their way of striving for status, so they're occupied there and they channel their aggression there, Costello says. While incels stir up hatred online in an ostentatious way, a lot of men abusing women are, quote, regular guys, end quote, not extremists. No, they're not. They're neither regular guys nor extremist. Most men and women who abuse their partners are just assholes or they're broken people who don't know how to handle conflicts of interest without using violence to get their way. That's
the men who invented computers, right? Never mind the men who invented the software that brought us video games. They were all autistic as fuck. Well, not all of them, but like a lot of them. You know, people who are good at coding, like, tend to be autistic. Like, you know, you need to be a little bit obsessed with a particular field of study. And so, yeah, sort of sense of reason, a lot of autistic men got into video games. And that was all well and good. While the women of the world were like, ha ha, look at the loser with his video games. And then the fucking Anita Sarkeesian came along, just fucking telling everyone that because Mario saves a princess, that means women are rewards in video games, and that this whole thing is misogyny. And I'm sat here I'm sat here with Alison, trying to explain how, you know, how men saving women is like the complete fucking opposite of misogyny. Like, like men saving women is like romantic chivalry, isn't it? It's the same shit that's been going on for ages. But Anita Sarkeesian's here going, no. Men saving women is patriarchy and misogyny, and it's why all of you game devs need to hire me as a consultant. You need me to make sure that you're not doing anything as horrifically misogynistic as men saving women. You can't be doing that. No. You men need to save me, a woman. Okay? And we're going to employ that in this entire $1 billion industry. And it's, you know, it occurred to me how relevant this is like 10 minutes ago, and then the conversation got away from me, and now I can't remember how it became relevant. But I think it did, like 10 minutes ago.
Just the thing about being pacified by the internet. It's if there was an electronic pacifier for lonely men and women, really. It's although there's, I'm sure, quite a bit more lonely men than women at this point. It's been video games, because you don't need other people necessarily to play video games. But yeah, that thing about a lot of men abusing women or regular guys, like, that pisses me off. All right, because I've been a victim of violence. It's not regular behavior. Normal adults do not use violence to get their way. They use every tool in their diplomatic toolbox to avoid it, because they learned as kids that they don't like it. It's very, very simple. It's not normal for anyone to beat their partner or start fights with other people. You have people that do fight each other in bars for fun, but it's not the same thing. It's not, it's usually a mutual start and stop thing, and nobody gets killed at the end of it. And there isn't somebody who is an unwilling participant. It's usually two people who had decided they were going to get into a fight that night, right? But using violence to settle, what's in the budget for the month, or what's for dinner, or what time dinner is going to be. That's not normal. Regular people do not do that. Right? People with problems, mental problems, do that. People who are assholes do that. Right? People who have completely failed at growing up do that. But yeah, it's just one that's stuck in my craw.
Almost at the finish line.
Huh? Yeah. Then
Almost
she goes on.
Line.
Then she goes on and says violence against women is normalized outside of internet forums, which is, again, bullshit. Most of the violence in the world targets men. Very, very few instances, by comparison, target women. She puts in parentheses, there's also a misconception that incels are far right. In fact, they tend to lean center left, like Alex, although those who endorse violence are more likely to be right wing. Which I think that's her own fantasy as well. As well as the harm it does toward women in their lives. Misogyny is deeply harmful to the men themselves. As their loneliness feeds their resentment, they waste their lives away on the internet. This is another fantasy. It's important to speak to these men because they're going to listen to you, lady. And it's important. It's important to take their problems seriously, even if they've misidentified women as the cause. So basically, the concern trolls that came into the subreddit, like I was talking about before, the men's rights subreddit, this woman is the queen of concern trolls, going into men's rights forums and any other place that men talk about their issues, and saying, don't you think your mother would be ashamed of the way that you talk about women? Besides, it's always possible that they could change their minds. When I'm on the train home from meeting Dan, he texts me about calling women whores. I seriously don't mean everyone. God. It's a start. And of course, there's the little disclaimer. Some names in this piece have been changed. Yeah, and there's no comments. None. Nobody commented on this article at all. Nobody cared. Of course, this is a archive, so maybe somebody has later, but I can only read it as an archive because if I try to open it as an article, there's a paywall. So there you go. This woman could not finish her article, could not get her points across, could not get her claims across without making up a feminist in MRA's clothing to use as a foil against the other guys that she talked to. I mean, that's pretty pathetic. That's beyond pathetic. Anybody have any last thoughts on the article?
Glad it's finished, and apologies while sharing the article.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also agree with Lauren. Everything that she said in the last 5 minutes is exactly my opinion of this article.
The sleeping.
Yes, the snoring. Which is so cute. I wish I snored like that instead of the way I snore, because it's awful.
I am still here.
What about you, Mike? What do you think?
I will join Lauren in her snoring soon.
Okay.
But for the time being, I'm here for you, the listenators, the Badgerinos. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying here for this long.
Yep. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to all of my co-hosts for going through this slog with me. We can do something else next time, which will be 2 weeks from now, remember. And thanks again to Brian for working in the background to make sure this can happen and sticking around for this whole show. Good night, all.
Tally-ho.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.